You've learned chords, where they are, and how to find them. And you've also learned how to play songs using a lead sheet. Now, what if you have a melody? Maybe even a melody that you wrote yourself, but there's no accompaniment. There are no chords. How do you add chords to go with the tune? Well, what's the method that we need to use here? Now, first of all, we want to answer the question, well, why should I learn how to do this? Well, there's more to being a musician than just learning songs or learning classical music and just learning how to play something. You can also learn how to be a creative musician. You can learn how to write songs, write melodies, write chord progressions. Or you can create your own version of a song, your own arrangement of a song that you want to play. You might hear a song and it's got a certain set of chords and you decide, I want to use some different chords. I'm going to take that melody and add different chords to it. Well, this is all part of playing by ear. And in the future, we're going to talk about how to write your own tune and then add chords to it. But for now, we're going to start with a tune that's already written, and then we'll figure out how to add chords to it. So let's take a look at a lead sheet. Now remember, a lead sheet is just the melody line and the lyrics. So this has the tune and the lyrics, but there are no chords. Now this is a very familiar and seemingly simple tune. And you'll see that adding the chords can be very simple at first, but then it can get more and more complicated. Now, I downloaded this lead sheet from the website musicformusicteachers.com. And so I'll leave the link below. We're looking at a tune called Doxology, very popular hymn tune that perhaps you have sung in church. Let's pretend that you've never heard it before. And so all we have is just this melody, no chords, and we want to add chords to this melody. The first thing we want to notice is what key are we in? Well, you can see by the 1 sharp in the key signature that we're in the key of G. You can also look at where the melody starts. It starts on G, ends on G, and so it's a pretty good bet that this is in the key of G. Let's play through the melody, hear what it sounds like. The first step in adding chords to a melody is finding that first chord. Usually, not every time, the first chord will probably be the tonic, what we call the tonic chord or the 1 chord. You remember in the key of G, we have these chords to choose from, and many others, of course, but since this is a very simple tune, it's most likely going to use the simpler chords. So on G, we build a chord on each note of the G major scale. We have G, which makes a G major, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and back to G. So let's start using the G major chord, play through the tune, and we'll keep playing it at the beginning of every measure until it no longer works. It sounds like we need to change chords there. Now, many times you can kind of figure out what chord to use depending on where the melody has landed. So notice the first note of that 4th measure is C. And we know from our knowledge of chords that the C major chord obviously contains a C. But when we land on this A, we want to change again. We can't go back to G. That doesn't work. So we can go to D, the 5 chord. And now we stay on the D until it no longer works. Obviously, we need to be changing chords there as well. Notice it lands on E, we could go back to the 4. Now we need to change again. Now we have in these next 3 notes, we're outlining the G major chord. So let's put the G major in there. Now it looks like we need another chord here. We could use 5. So we have something that sounds like this. That's one set of chords that we could add to this melody, but we could make it a little more interesting by changing chords more quickly, perhaps on beats 1 and 3. We could put the C chord there because the E is also part of that chord. And then go to the 5 there and then back to G. There we could change chords on the A, go to D, and then back to G, and then C, and then to D. So let's see, if we change chords here, so we're going from D, back to G, and then C, D, G. And then here, notice these 2 notes are also contained in the A minor chord, which is also part of the chord set for the key of G major. And then that chord usually leads to the 5 and then back to the 1. We can get even fancier and change chords literally on every beat. So we went 1, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1. Something like that. As you can see, the possibilities are endless. We can even add some minor chords. And then you'll notice the 2 long notes at the end. When you're playing a hymn, you usually play the 4 chord and then the 1. This is just scratching the surface when it comes to adding chords to a melody. If you happen to look at this in a hymnal, you'll notice that it does change chords on every beat, which can be a little bit difficult for a guitar player. But you can simplify it, just as we did it at the beginning when we played it with many fewer chords, and it still sounded okay. So you can get as simple or as complex as you want when you're adding chords to a melody like this. So there you go. Now you have some methods whereby you can add chords to a melody. Now, one thing that's very important, it helps to have a good melody in order to do this. So, what makes a good melody? That will be the subject for another video. Thanks for watching. I hope you have found this helpful. Please like the video, and if you have not yet done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. That helps the channel a lot. And And also let anyone you know who is homeschooling and wants to teach music or is just interested in learning more about music, how to play it, how to create it. Let them know about At Home with Music. I appreciate that very much. Thank you again, and I look forward to speaking with you in the next one.